What is going on, good looking people? I hope you are well. Wykie Etsebeth here for the Morning Chalk Up, and today I'm speaking with the most Australian person you've ever met. He's also got the most beautiful dog in the world. He's my man crush, Khan Porter. Mr. Khan Porter, thanks so much for making the time today, man.
Hey, bud. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, how are you? How's Sydney?
Mate, Sydney's not too bad. It's a bit chilly today, but insofar as compared to sort of certain other parts of the country, well, mostly Melbourne, things are pretty good. We're kind of walking that tightrope of wondering if we're going to have a similar situation occur, like our cases are sort of still steadily creeping back up again. Absolutely nowhere near the same as Melbourne, but yeah, we're kind of just waiting with bated breath to see what lays ahead for us, which I guess is the kind of landscape of the entire world at the moment.
Yeah, man, for sure. And how's that affected your training and stuff? Have you been able to train as normal, or have you been restricted?
No, I mean, so like training from my perspective is as normal, just got to be very kind of regimented in like making sure if I'm in the gym, I've like recorded it. So using Waterfly, like when I just kind of breeze on in, breeze on out, like checking myself in and out just for tracing purposes and stuff like that. Just obviously adhering to all the social distancing stuff. So having my little corner set up, just go up to the naughty corner when I'm in there. But I mean, it's been, otherwise, logistically speaking, it's been fine, and which has been a blessing, but obviously not really knowing, I mean, like sort of training for the games, but then also kind of not really knowing if that's a pipe dream at this stage. It's been a bit hard, or not hard, I won't say that word, but it's been a challenge to training. Yeah,
sure. Do you think, like, if the games go ahead, do you know if you guys, like the Aussie athletes, will be able to even make it over? Like, if it does go ahead in September, is that something that you're able to do?
Oh, dude. So we were on a call, just the Aussie athletes last night that are trying to get over there. So my understanding is at this point, every other country has exemptions to travel to the games, or every other country's athletes have exemptions to travel, but the Australian athletes do not as of yet. Indications are that there is a good chance we would be able to get those exemptions, but it sounds like there's so many things still up in the air just logistically with the actual games themselves. It's an extremely expensive process too. I think it's like $1,500 just to apply to leave, and then the cost of the trip from Australia with mandatory quarantine when we get back, with the mandatory quarantine for 2 weeks when we go to the States, plus the cost of applying to leave, plus your flights and stuff as well. It's going to be wild. Like, it's going to be 10 grand minimum plus 5 to 6 weeks off work for people that are going over there. Like, yeah, man,
it's a big ask, eh?
It is, and it's crazy. Like, there's part of me that, like, I see the videos that they're putting out for the games, and like I get so fired up, and I'm like, man, I would love to go over there, and I'd love to rip in, and I'd love to compete, and like I am a competitor, and you know, I made a decision sort of around this time last year to really throw all my eggs into one basket for as long as that basket was still available, and that was being an athlete. And then obviously, like, I worked my ass off, qualified early, which was really stoked about. Sort of put things on hold, like studying that, just kind of really wanted to throw myself into this season. And then obviously with everything happening, that's been a bit all over the place. So there's that part of me that's still tugging at that and going, man, if they say push play and you can go over there, I'd love to jump on the first flight that I could to get there. But then, I mean, I don't have 10 grand sitting in my bank and to spend on that, like, at this point in time. And then I'm also reluctant to ask sponsors to give me that amount of money as well, considering there's so many things too. So, I mean, it's a big decision to be made for me personally, and I think for each of the Australian athletes. And I think, so I don't know. Like, I honestly, even having had the conversation with the guys yesterday, hearing everyone's opinions and spending time trying to formulate my own, I don't know where I sit at the moment on going over there. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I don't know how I feel about it from so many perspectives, financially, morally, like, ugh. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's crazy. Sure. But then, as I said, like, I'll watch the videos of all the guys testing, and I'm like, fuck, I just want to get in there and rip in, because I feel like it'll be a really, really cool games. I feel like the tests will be awesome. the environment through which it's going to be held, like I feel like that'll be sick, and I would love to be a part of that. But man, I don't know, and I wish I did know.
Yeah.
I wish I knew one way or the other whether I was in or out for whatever reason. I kind of had hoped that the call last night was going to be like maybe some bad news, and they were just going to be like, yeah, but you know what, you can't go. And then I'm like, cool,
Yeah.
I can now process that and get on with whatever's next and focus on the next season. Or it's like, yep,
Totally.
it's on. But yeah, mate, just living in limbo. But I don't mind. I mean, it's frustrating, but life's good otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that leads in nicely with our topic for today, which is for you guys as athletes, so much of your world is training and competing, and I can imagine quite a bit of your identity kind of gets, put into that. And so my question for you today was like, as an athlete who hasn't, when's the last time you competed? Was China the last time?
Yeah, China. So, December last year.
Yeah. So like as an athlete who competes normally on a regular basis and finds great enjoyment and kind of purpose in that, how does it affect kind of your identity and who you are? Like you don't get to kind of show off your hard work and all that stuff. Has that been a challenge at all? Like, just dealing with that?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of went through my own little process of like untying myself from being purely and simply identifying as an athlete a few years ago. And I'd say that was probably one of the fundamental, like biggest moments in my career. Let's see if you call competing in CrossFit a career. Was going through that process a while ago, sort of around that 2017 period when I first didn't make the games, because my identity was so heavily tied into my success as an athlete. Because as someone that's kind of had various mental health issues throughout my whole life, particularly centered around like that low self-esteem, suddenly being good at something and being like objectively good at something, I couldn't subjectively. There was no way that like I started this sport, I worked my ass off and did everything kind of like legitimately, got to where I got, and it wasn't there was no subjectivity in it. I was objectively good at what I was doing. Like that was a big thing for me, and that was something that kind of was amazing in some respects, but also caused a lot of like. Here we go. I told my dog would come in here. He's just popped his head up.
Yeah, jump in there.
Say hi.
Look,
Hey.
The most beautiful dog in the world, no doubt.
Isn't he? I know I'm super biased, but he's the best. I love
Dude.
him. Anyway,
For sure.
But so I really heavily tied my identity into my success in the sport, because all of a sudden I had this thing that, as I said, I was objectively good at, and that I felt good about myself for, okay, you can come up and just hang out, that I felt objectively good about my successes in, and it was really, really cool. However, that on the flip side to that is someone that has such a proclivity to anxiety like I do, it started to kind of, it may turn CrossFit and turn competition and stuff into a fairly negative experience for me. And it was only really when, I guess, what my marker of success was always making the games. 2017, I didn't make the games. And then I was able to kind of go back and sort of, I guess, redetermine my own sense of self-worth for things other than being a CrossFit. Other than being a CrossFit athlete. So in some respects, this year's sucked, and it's made training difficult. He's not going to go back down. He's just going to hang out.
That's fine. He's good to.
Yeah. I think like as much as that's made this year, like it's been difficult from the perspective of being an athlete. That is only what I see as one facet of my being, so to speak.
Sure.
And it has been tough, and I have not enjoyed not being able to compete, because I compete because I love it. And it is an expression of something that I put a lot of work into. But it's been an awesome opportunity for me to now go back and then refocus and reassess on what other things I find value in, re-dive into my studies, start to kind of explore different avenues like professionally, and sort of weigh up different things that I get value out of within the fitness space and beyond. And I don't know, I don't know if I've necessarily gone through that kind of like death of my identity from not being able to compete. However, I understand that it would be extremely difficult for other people that maybe haven't had that part of their journey yet, who are so heavily tied into it. I also, I make a bit of an income I make an income being an athlete, but I've got another million bits and pieces going on as well. So I have other things that I can kind of focus my time and effort onto. But yeah, like it's a tricky one. It is a tricky one.
Yeah.
Because it's the unknown. It's not even like we can say, hey, do you know what? We can focus on the 2021 season. Because we don't even fucking know if that's going to go ahead and what that's going to look like. We don't even know what it looks like yet. I mean, CrossFit as a whole is going through a transient period. There was like the whole, and I think that like that whole kind of, like that uproar, it came at the perfect time as well, because there's so much tension in the world at the moment. It's a crazy time to exist in an industry like this, or with a role like being an athlete, when we don't know what the future holds. And that forces a hell of a lot of kind of like introspection and sort of self-assessment on people that maybe aren't in a space mentally, psychologically to do that. And that's difficult.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the best way for those people to do is, I guess, just to figure out, drum it back to what the core values are. Like, what do you value as a human being? Do you value fitness? Cool. You can still achieve fitness right now without a goal immediately on the games. Like, do you value connection? You can still create connection now. Do you value giving and altruism? You can still give to people now. And there's been some incredible people that you've seen doing it. I mean, like Noah, I saw you sent me through that you interviewed him. Like, what a stud. Like, the amount of stuff he's been doing in terms of trying to connect with people and add value to other people. Like, if that's not a reason enough to fire you up to get out of bed, to be able to add value to someone else's life, you don't need a competition for that. And as an athlete, you have a platform of authority and a platform or a community of people that are going to look up to you, and you can use that like platform in a really positive way, irrespective of whether you're competing. Now, does that mean that you're going to get to tick those boxes yourself as being, like an athlete in the sense of going and doing a competition? Probably not. But can you still do something that you can be proud of? Absolutely. I think that's what people are going to do.
So good, man. I love that perspective. And it's kind of, it's taking what you do as an athlete and so your identity is who you are, not what you do. I guess that's what you're saying. Like, you can still be a generous person. I love that outlook. It's really cool.
Identity is multifaceted as well. It's not just being an athlete. I guarantee you, there's something besides fitness that makes every single one of those people that has a games ticket tick.
Yeah, for sure. What about? Because I know you've been to. How many games have you been to? You've been to multiple games, like
5. This is meant to be my 6th.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I can imagine for people like yourself who are like games veterans in a sense, it must be quite hard, having a year like this where, you might be feeling like you're coming towards the end of your career. Like you said, your career as a CrossFit. I don't know how, you're still young, man, aren't you? How old are you?
Oh, no, man, I'm 31 next month. I'm getting there.
Yeah, it must be tough, man, for you guys that have been there for a long time and again, making it and then not being, not sure if it's going to happen or not. It must be real tough.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that though. Like, I look at it from the flip side as well. Like, I've got to experience the games 5 times. I got to experience it when it was in Carson. I got to experience it in Madison as an individual and on a team. I did the regionals where you had to go top 3 to make it. I did the super regions. Like, I've got to experience this sport in so many different ways. Who I feel for is your rookies that have and I've made it before. I know I can make it again. Maybe not many times because I'm getting a bit older, but I'm certain I could make the games again. Who I feel for are like the rookies who...
Jay Crouch kind of guys.
Yeah, I mean, like, Jay's young, he's coming up. Like, it was funny, we spoke and both the guys, Jay and Baden, like, they're both young. They both know that they've got a pretty good career ahead of them. So they were like, it's cool. If I can't go this year, like, I'll just qualify next year. And I'm like, fuck, okay, like... And then they have that option, and they will, because they're both studs, and they'll definitely get back there. But it's like those rookies and stuff that maybe have been around for a while, and like this was meant to be their first game. Like Haz, for example, Harriet Roberts. Like, I train with her pretty regularly, and like she's been trying for years and years and years. Finally ticked the box. Finally got that ticket, and like, I believe she'll get back there again, and I believe she has all the capabilities in the world to do that. But that's kind of the people that I feel for here who are not going to get that first experience, who have earned it but potentially not going to get it. And you know, I sort of said on the call to the guys that I was chatting to, like, look, if we can't go over there, maybe just the 6 Australians, maybe we get a call up to next year's as wild cards or something like that. You know, maybe that's a way around that so these people still get the ticket. But then you can look at it on a broader scale as well and go, what about all the people that qualified through the Open or like as national champions and stuff like that, you know, like just like they got told no and they just had to kind of deal with it. So if we get told no, then I guess like we just have to deal with it. And that's life. And sometimes life isn't fair and sometimes it's difficult, but those difficult moments ultimately shape us, teach us things.
Totally, man. I love it. I reckon we just fly all the Aussie athletes to the Gold Coast, all the guys and girls, and we'll just have like our own little games here.
Yeah,
guys and
absolutely.
girls all the same pool.
I mean, like,
I'll
or
program
we could just
it.
go to the pub. Like, I'm not fussed either way at this point in time. It feels a bit weird. I mean, we're not even going to be able to come to the Gold Coast. We're there.
Yeah, true.
Jay's going to be trapped down there in Melbourne, and like no one can go anywhere.
That's awesome, man. Well, it's it's really cool to hear your perspective, and I hope some athletes find kind of encouragement in that and kind of, you know, a bit of a perspective switch, because I have spoken to a few athletes that, you know, are really, really gutted about, you know, where things are at and not being able to do the thing they love. So it's cool to kind of hear, you know, what can you do about that to kind of make sure your identity is in a healthy place and it's not placed in something that's not in your control always, you know. So yeah, man, thanks so much for your time. I love it.
That's all right. What I will say on that, just one more thing, and I'll try not to waffle, is like, that's also super valid. Like, I go through days and periods where like that around this where I just feel frustrated and shitty and annoyed. And this is with me potentially supposed to be like building myself up to compete potentially in a few weeks. And like, yeah, there's days where that definitely fucks with my head and then I don't enjoy the current landscape, and it's not as easy for me to just anchor myself to these kind of like, oh, but that's fine. I can still go and like do a nice thing for someone and I'll just feel magically better. Like, that's not every day, and that's so totally understandable. Just be kind to yourself. On those days where you are feeling overwhelmed from it, go and do something. Like, just go do something nice. When you've got your 2 hours blocked out for your training, go watch a movie. And go for a surf. You guys up, you know, especially you guys up there, it's pretty nice in the water. Like, go down to the beach, go for a walk on the beach, go to a dog park and pet other people's dogs if you don't have your own, or just go for a walk with your own. Like, there is, like, be kind to yourself and make time to be kind to yourself, because this is like a weird period to be around and to be trying to kind of do something. And when we can't control those things, we can't control the outcome of when we're going to be able to compete next. It's beyond our control. What we can control is taking care of ourselves every day. So that's one thing that I will say. Don't stress if you can't just make yourself feel better by wanting to do good. Like, you just be nice to yourself.
I love it, man. You should write a book one day. So good. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It was it was really insightful and it's good to chat.
No worries, man. Absolute pleasure, as always.